back to the episode of Stories of Horror. Another episode we dive into the mysteries and the unknowns of the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Without further ado, hit the intro. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Stories of Horror. I've been gone for a little while, but now we're back. And today's topic, as you've seen from the title, is about the Axe Murder House. We're going to dive into the mystery surrounding the house and the history of it and the horrendous event that happened in that house and the suspects who proclaimed to have been maybe the serial killer. They never found the person who was responsible for those crimes. We're going to dive into all that in this video today. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Small town known as Villisca in the summer of 1912 was rocked by a mass murder that happened. The town has less than 2,000 people in population, but that horrendous crime struck fear throughout the homes in the Midwest families for years. In Villisca, crimes and violence were the last things on the minds of the individuals living here. Doors was left unlocked, neighbors were always friendly, and everyone knew everyone. This all changed after the morbid deaths of 8 individuals at the home of Josiah and Sarah Moore. On the evening of June 10, 1912, the Moore family and 2 friends of the Moore children were sleeping soundly after a busy and fun day participating in a summer church activity when a person entered the house and brutally murdered each individual with an axe found on the property. The coroner report suggests the deaths occurred sometime after midnight that evening, but even years after, with all the rumored suspects, questions still were left unanswered and no one was ever charged with the crimes of the murder of that night. To this day, the murderer was never found and likely went to their grave with the secret of the horrendous crimes they committed. Moore House has such a dark and mysterious past. It is no surprise that the house quickly attracted rumors of a haunting. Over hundreds of years later, ghost hunters and thrill seekers alike came to attend on tours of the Moore House as well as pay to spend the night at the house and record their experiences. Every year, hundreds of different visitors come in and they experience different things that can only be described as paranormal. After hearing many disturbing experiences from these different individuals who came to visit and spend the night at the house, it can only be described as something of the paranormal. It's almost impossible to deny the disturbing, creepy things happening behind the walls of this small town in Iowa home. If you ever find yourself passing through Iowa, maybe take a scenic route through Villisca in Ohio. I don't know if I'll ever visit or go to the Axe Murder House when the murders happen, or the occult that's in Connecticut with the Warrens. But if you want to, I think it's $10 per person. You can go there and visit there. Maybe one day I might go to the museum, but not anytime soon. But let's move on to the next part of this video, which is the suspects who proclaimed to be the axe murderer. There was many different suspects in the axe murder case. I'm gonna get through a few of them, starting off with Andrew Sawyer. Andrew Sawyer was one of those suspects. He was interrogated but not charged. He was assessed with the murders and slept fully clothed as if he was ready to make a clean getaway, and he also slept with an axe by his bed, so they suspected that maybe he had some type of connections with the murders. Another suspect was Reverend George Kelly. Kelly was an English-born traveling minister in the town on the night of the murders. Kelly was described as reportedly suffering from a mental illness or mental breakdowns. He had a lot of them like that, and people considered that he was mentally unstable. As an adult, he was accused of peeping on several times, as asking young women and girls to pose nude for him. And on June 8, 1912, he came to the place of where the axe murder happened to teach at the Children's Day services, which the Moore family attended on June 9th and 1912. He left the town between 5 a.m. to 5:50 a.m. on June 10, 1912, hours before the bodies were discovered. Reverend Kelly he confessed to the murders in court, but the jury didn't believe his confessions, so they never really prosecuted him or tried to like arrest him or take him in. In the weeks that followed, he displayed a lot of fascination with the cases and wrote many disturbing letters to the police, investigators, and the family deceased, trying to say that he was there, and trying to describe some of the murders and all the things that surrounded it. This arose suspicion in private investigator who wrote back to Reverend Kelly asking for details that the minister might know about the murders. Kelly replied with the great detail, claiming to have heard sounds and possibly witnessed the murders in person. His mental illness is known and made authorities question whether he knew the details because having committed the murders or was imagining his account. In 1914, 2 years after the murders, Kelly was arrested for sending obscene material through the mail. He was sexually harassing a woman who applied for a job as a secretary. He was sent to a mental hospital in Washington, D.C. Investigators speculated again that Kelly could be the murderer of the Moore family. In 1917, 3 years later, Kelly was arrested for the murders. Police obtained a confession from him. However, it followed many hours of interrogation, and Kelly later was acquitted of all those things and was never charged as the Axe House murderer. Another suspect was Frank Jones. He was a Villisca resident and an Iowa state senator. Josiah Moore had worked for Frank Jones at his implement store for many years before leaving to open his own store. Moore reportedly took business away from Jones, including a very successful John Deere dealership. Moore was rumored to have had a sexual affair with Jones' daughter-in-law as well, though no evidence support this. So maybe Frank Jones was suspected to be the guy because maybe jealousy or having some type of spite. Remember I mentioned that if someone had vengeance towards the family, they never could find out or figure that out. Maybe he was a suspect, and maybe he was the guy, or maybe he wasn't. Another suspect was Williams Mansfield. Now this Williams Mansfield series kind of connects to Jones as well, because the theory was that Senator Jones hired William to murder the Moore family. 9 months before the murders at Villisca, a similar case of axe murders occurred in Colorado. 2 axe murders cases in Kansas, Ellsworth, and Paula in Kansas as well. All the cases had very similar crime scenes. The way the murders was done, the covering of the mirrors, the lamp being at the foot of the bed, all the cases had similarities, so they kind of suspected that maybe he was behind the murders as well, so maybe he was the guy. Wilkerson, the investigator who tried to convince the jury, who finally did convince him to do a full investigation on Mansfield, brought to Mansfield and led to his arrest. But the lack of evidence and his alibi saying that he wasn't there and all that stuff kind of let him go free. He was released like that. Maybe he could have been the guy, but since they had lack of evidence to determine him to being the axe murderer, then they couldn't really do anything. He also sued Wilkerson for taking him to court and was awarded $2,000 as well, but nothing really came about it, and they never could find who was the person behind it. And there's also many more suspects like Henry Lee Moore, Sam Moyer, Paul Mueller, etc. A lot of different guys who they thought was the axe murderer, but they can never have that evidence to determine them just that. So the axe murderer never was caught and never was found, and still is unknown to who did those horrendous crimes today. And that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. As you've seen, they never found the suspect responsible for it. It's kind of like the past topics we discussed on here before, like Mr. Cruel and the Zodiac Killer, Jack the Ripper, all types of different people who were left unscathed and who got away with a horrendous crime, a very terrible crime. And the Axe Murder House, they don't know why the person did that. They don't know if the person had some type of vengeance towards the people, or were they looking they're just crazy or looking to do something, but they don't know exactly why it happened. It was in a small town where everyone knows each other. They left the doors unlocked, the neighbors and stuff, everybody friendly, but you didn't think that anything out of the ordinary like that will ever happen. Maybe people might get into a little fight or a scuffle and might have some differences occasionally, but you didn't think somebody would go in someone's house with an axe and just murder everybody like that. and create this horrendous event in history. But that's all I got for this video today, guys. I'll see you guys most likely next week. I'm gonna start doing them probably every other week, or maybe like it just depends like that. But you're gonna be seeing them, of course, like that. I'm back in the groove. We're getting back on the move. I've been doing a lot of basketball content. My other channel, I'm covering the NBA, and then also doing NFL stuff in the off season and stuff as well. So I upload on this channel in a while, but we're gonna get back into it and get more consistent stuff. In the Zone will be coming back as well. We start doing weekly stuff with that. And if you like watching us discuss different things about the entertainment and about wrestling and about sports and all types of stuff like that we discuss in the Zone, you can go and watch that when we come back. Most likely we'll be back, I would say next week, but maybe the week after next like that. But we're gonna have a lot of videos recorded and start getting back on the grind. But that's all I got for this video. Hope you like this video. Leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Peace out.